back to the Black and Healthy podcast. My name is Jasmine Gillum, and I am the founder and owner of Black and Healthy. Today, we have another special guest, the Dr. Midas Hampton. And before we get into this episode today, of course, I got to invite you to subscribe to the Black and Healthy podcast on Apple and Spotify. Make sure that you also subscribe on YouTube and connect with us on our social media platforms on Instagram and Facebook. And then, of course, the website www.blackandhealthy.com. We hope to connect with you, and let's get into this episode. So, Dr.
Not the.
Midas Hampton.
Yes, madam.
Tell us about yourself. Who are you? How did you get started in your line of work? And what exactly are you doing in the community right now?
That's a lot of questions.
I know. Loaded.
I know. I am the grandson of a preacher and the son of a woman who worked hard her whole life so that I could sit in this chair and talk to you.
All right.
I am the founding executive director of Strategic Spartanburg, our nonprofit research organization that really is focused on leveraging data and evidence to improve the quality of life in our community. How I got here. Now, that's a parable, that's a tale. Are you ready to go on that journey with me?
Yes.
All right. Started off like this. I grew up in public housing in the projects of Brooklyn to the ghettos of Columbia, South Carolina. And every day I would see people come in and out of my community, well-meaning folks doing phenomenal work, but I never saw the issues they showed up to address fixed. And so I was very concerned about my ability to do that if I'd only been and lived in that one area. So I kind of went on a quest to answer the question of how do we infuse resources in community and allow those people to prosper in place when those resources are infused, because we see a lot of displacement happen as a result, right? And so I went a lot of different places, but the idea was to gain experience and knowledge along the way and bring it back to South Carolina. And so what I wanted to do and how I landed in this position was I looked at all of the key pieces. You think education, you think housing, you think healthcare, you think community development, transportation, workforce development. I've touched it, done it, been in it. But the idea of finding a nexus point, an intersection, an action point that allows for us to have the biggest impact with leveraging the smallest amount of resources. Because we say, oh, we're resource poor when we're resource rich. But how do we do that well? And I landed this particular position because I was able to leverage the data that I've been exposed to with the practitionership that I have done in order to see where those leverage points are and isolate them and work with community to address them individually. And so this role is a combination of a series of decisions in my life, but it is the intersection of all of the things that I've done and touched in order to improve life for people who live there.
Yeah. So as far as improving life for people, in the community, if you will, what have you observed here in our local community? Maybe your top 3 to 5. I guess you could say things that are impacting our community currently.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's a big question. I would say one of the biggest things that is impacting our community is the level of growth that we're seeing. We're seeing significant growth. And I always say that we have this beautiful juxtaposition of phenomenal investment, phenomenal growth, the things you want to see in a thriving community, and significant disparities that continue to grow as growth does. So one of the things that we're conscious of is how fast and in what ways are those disparities growing. So that's kind of number one. We see the growth happening, but we also know that it's not happening for everybody at the same rate. Another big thing, particular to this work around Black and Healthy, is our prenatal care. We're seeing a lot of investment happen in prenatal care, a lot of investment in child health overall. And so we're seeing those trends start to get a lot better than they have been in the past.
Yeah.
We're seeing big drops and those negative impacts. We're also seeing some significant investment in education, as we know leads to those kind of health outcomes. You think your third grade reading, your eighth grade math, those pieces are getting a lot better, right?
Yeah.
But again, those are single elements that feed into the larger narrative of we are seeing growth and we're also seeing those disparities. And so these individuals, when I say these, I mean your Access Health, your Live Healthy Spartanburgs, are actively working with communities to address those disparities that are sometimes persistent, but they're not insurmountable.
Okay. So I want to touch on the first point you made, was our community is growing currently. And in community talks that I have been a part of is, like you're saying, yes, we are excited about people moving here. However, the people that have been here, it's very important to not forget those individuals and to make sure not only are we're not forgetting them, but making sure that they are heard. Have you seen or have you been in conversations regarding that, of making sure that our community, the people that have been here for years on end, their entire lives, are being included within the growth of the city right now? And if so, what exactly does that look like, I guess you can say, in the next coming 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. I want to take a step back.
Okay.
Right? And so we have our new residents that are moving here. Significantly, the vast majority you see are like 65 plus. And then there's some more, but the vast majority. And then we have what we call our legacy residents, or our local experts.
Okay.
Because we see them as experts in place and space that they've lived.
Love that.
And so that's how we approach them, as an expert. What I've seen a lot of is, we talk about collaboration a lot in our community.
Yes.
And that is the secret sauce. And I will not take it away from Spartanburg, because I have worked around this country and outside of it. And I do not see the level of engagement in like collaboration that I see in Spartanburg. And so that is significant. And because we both, two things can exist in the same time, there's no but, there's an and. And what I see around the table are very similar faces around the tables. Right? So it's not to say that they shouldn't be. It's to say that when we talk about collaboration, we have to be in mind, pay in mind, or have in mind that the people around the table are used to collaborating with one another because they've been around similar tables with one another.
Right.
My biggest push is to make sure there are new voices and spaces and places and faces at that table.
Yeah.
But here's also the kicker. I can open a door, you have to choose to walk through it.
Right.
Right? How do we engage in our community, with our communities, those longtime residents, and build trust in institutions solid enough for them to say, okay, I'm going to play ball again? Because trust wasn't dissolved, or it didn't fall apart overnight.
Right.
It was consistent things that showed people that they cannot trust any system or any one part of a system.
Right.
And so how do we make sure that we are showing a new light? If we're saying we're collaborating, we're saying this is a new Spartanburg, new community for everybody to thrive, and we're seeing that that's not the case in our data, then how can we make sure that our longtime legacy residents, our local experts, see themselves as, one, belonging in that space, because belonging is significant, but also we reduce barriers to that engagement. Yeah. And so one of the things, second part of your question, like, how do we do that? Where have I seen it happen, right? I've seen it happen in a lot of, for instance, your collective impact spaces, where community was asked at the beginning not to rubber stamp anything, but to come in at the beginning in the ideation phase.
Right.
Because that's where ownership lives. Yes. That's where decisions are made. Not when everything is done and you bring them in and everybody's like looking at the proposal, or they're looking at the report, or they're looking at, but what should we do?
Yeah.
Right? And I've seen that happen when you think about Spartanburg academic movement's work with promised neighborhoods in the South Side. Going to them and say, hey, this is a position, these are resources, and it's earmarked for the South Side. Coming to you as community, what should be done and how should it be done? And then I've also seen it the opposite happen, where there's been conversations about what should happen in a particular community, where they decide not to move forward because they know they did not have the community input at the beginning phases. And so they say, well, this is a great opportunity, but we need to retool it because we have to have community voice up front at the beginning of the ideation phase, not at any other phase, right? So there's like 8 different rungs of citizen participation, right? And we don't want placation. We don't want tokenism. We want true facilitation of power ownership. And so that takes everybody at the onset being a part of the conversation.
So I'm going to touch on that. The facilitation part, because I actually was going to ask you this question, but you kind of exercised me into that one, a little bit, warmed me up. The facilitation part, what I have noticed with communities, people are going to share how they feel wholeheartedly.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to take it to social media. They're going to take it to your face. And working in, I guess you can say, social work to an extent, I realized when people would call, you know what I'm saying, if they had some type of concern, complaint about something, the first thing is that they want to be heard.
Yes.
They are going to they might air you out. They might.
Yeah.
But then once you sit there and you listen, sometimes they'll say, thank you for listening to me. And so with that being said, I think sometimes in our community groups, when we do have these conversations, my question is there someone who is able to mediate the emotional aspect in these conversations? You know what I mean?
I do.
I think it's very easy for people to become defensive when someone is sharing how they feel about something.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, maybe if you would have, some people are coming they just want to have conflict.
Yeah.
They want to create conflict. They want you to know how they feel.
They're here for the smoke.
They don't
want
care.
all of it.
And that's it, right. And they don't want to progress forward. But then you have the people that are like, this is how I feel. They get past it, and now they're ready to work with you. I personally have not seen someone specifically come in that role to kind of speak to that emotional aspect that people have lost trust with our leaders. And so I wonder what difference that would make if that was intentional to bring into those spaces.
Yeah, it'd make a significant difference. I will say this. Most of the time when we see that kind of reaction in open forums, right, or in conversations, it's because that is maybe the first time in a long time that opportunity has presented itself. Right? So it says more to do about how many spaces are being curated for conversation and dialogue, so that when we get to a point of having a more focused conversation, a more focused meeting, or community meeting, that we can actually pinpoint and focus on the thing we're there to talk about. Yeah. Right? What I've seen in my experience is we're here to talk about a specific new community asset, right? Everybody said they wanted this community asset. Everybody showed up to talk about this community asset. But when we get there, everything else under the sun comes up. Yeah. And we rarely talk about that community asset, right? And that's because we haven't curated the spaces for that to happen already. Yeah. Right? More town halls and conversations with communities needs to happen across the board. Yeah. And that's just an opportunity for people to speak to those who they've delegated as trusted individuals to hold power over them in this community. Yeah. And so that is one way that we can preempt that kind of situation from happening. And I think the second piece, more around who facilitates that emotional piece. Yeah. I think, one, that's hard to do. Second, my shop, Strategic Spartanburg, exists to provide a rooting element to the conversation. And so when we get there, we are always talking about sometimes very emotional topics, right? Infant mortality is emotional, right? Housing and instability is an emotional topic. Agreed. Right? But if we can root us in where we are empirically, we can have a conversation about how to get somewhere else.
Yeah.
One of the things we say, and it is our tagline, is we're community-driven, data-informed for transformative change. Because I have never seen data jump off the page and start doing the work to fix community.
Right.
So when people say, well, we're data-driven, that's cool. We're data shop. We're community-driven, right? Because community leverages the information to make changes inside their own space and place. And so when we come to those meetings, we're saying, hey, this is where we are. This is the analysis. These are the data. This is where we are. We know generally as a community what we want to see, what our goals are. It's always how we get there.
Right.
That's always the disconnecting piece.
Yes.
Right? Because I want to take the back roads and you want to take 85. Right? And so how we get there, we may have the same destination, but the biggest battles we see emotionally is the process and how we leverage things to get to where we're trying to go. And so for us, it's like, okay, let's do the analysis on whether or not it is the best to take 85 or it's the best to take the back roads. Things are the fastest because we can get to destinations really quickly and it all crumbles when we let go.
Correct.
And so we want things to sustain. And so sometimes that means back roads, but people get frustrated with the timeline instead of enjoying the view.
Yeah. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit too, because I think, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, please.
Oftentimes I think people get lost in vocabulary.
Yes.
If they don't know what something means,
Yep.
they've already clocked out. You do have some of those that are inquisitive to say, what do you mean by that? What exactly does that mean?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we talk about people that are like data driven, they leave that part out to meet people on the education side. Because you have to think about it, with some individuals, they've never heard any of this before. They know nothing about what you're talking about. And I think it's very important to bridge that gap for people to really understand, one, what they are being told.
Yes.
But then two, as you said, is it best to take 85 or the back roads?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this. Data, research, policy for that matter. The language there and the jargon, just like in legal spaces, are used by a lot of people to be barriers and levers of power.
Yes.
Right? So if I can come in and start talking to you about, p-values, and I say, okay, well, that was statistically significant by 0.01, but it's not 0.05, so we really shouldn't do that. And then I walk away from you. I'm like, I don't even know what you said,
exactly.
more or less.
What? The P what?
Like, what? Right? So one thing that we always say here is we build for grandma.
For what?
Grandma.
Okay, yeah.
My grandmother is 92.
Okay.
Right? And I send her stuff.
Really?
Yes. Right? We say, okay, well, writing is at a 6th or 8th grade level, depending on what we're writing about. If you cannot speak about a topic without throwing all those things around, you don't know enough about it, so shut up. I'm sorry, be quiet for the listeners.
He said shut up.
Right? If you don't know enough, if you can't speak about a topic with very succinctly and minimum words, very clearly, then you do not know enough about it to be speaking about it at all.
That's good.
Because if you have to use all this extra stuff to speak about the topic, you don't know it well enough. And it's not a dig at you. It's just do more work before you take it to community. That's all. When we do our work and we take community, we're like, okay, how is this useful? Who is it useful for? And how do we make sure that we have different modalities, different ways of learning that we can disseminate this information through? So for one instance, one report, we had a graphic and we also had a one-pager and an executive summary and the 60-page report. You know why? Because a lot of people won't read the 60-page report.
Correct.
They'll read the executive summary. Some people don't even get time for that.
Right.
Because here's also another big piece, and it gets me because now you're on my soapbox. When we're talking about specific, seemingly intractable problems, and we're talking at community, not with, talking at community, like one, it's their fault.
Right.
Or two, they don't have lives and they don't have work to do.
That part.
And they can just show up midday at your meeting.
Talk about it.
Right? I can just drop everything.
Correct.
Or I can show up after work at your meeting, but I have no childcare.
That part.
You don't provide any childcare at your meeting. Then at what point do we, I say we as leadership, we as leaders in community, we as entities and organizations start to have the real conversation about how we're not providing space for people to be engaged instead of, well, we need to have more people engaged in our space.
And I've been in that position before. I've had those conversations to say, hey, these people are at work. And if they're not at work, they just got off of work and they're asleep. And they don't have time to come in.
Yeah, and people wonder why, like, oh, we only had 5-10 people show up. Makes sense. Like, let me ask you a question. After you get off work and it's a long day and you worked a double shift, do you want to go to a community meeting about a thing no one told you about until the last second?
Right.
Or do you want to spend that time with your children or with no one or in a tub drinking a glass of wine and watching the latest nothing show that asks nothing of you, right? So it's if we're gonna be honest about how we want to work with community, we have to be flexible in how we show up in spaces of community. It is hard. I'm not saying this because I can sit on a little mountaintop and scream down from the rafters. I'm saying it because it is hard and it takes intentional effort, but it is not something that is impossible to do. We've done it before. We've seen it done well. And in order for us to move forward as far as like how do we bring new voices into the community dialogue and discourse, we have to change up how we have the dialogue and discourse.
I would like to address the community in different ways.
Yes.
One, for our community leaders, that you have to be able to acknowledge the wrong and trust that has been lost in communities. But you also have to be intentional about resolution as well. I would say with the community, meaning people that have been here, is that coming into a space with an open mind is, though you may not trust our current leadership, is also taking the time to listen to what they have to say and speaking up as well. Don't hold out on that. But I think just stating your grievances and how you feel about something, but you're not willing to work in partnership with leadership, is not beneficial for anybody. And I think that there is a common ground to come to. I think at the end of the day, the power is holding community leaders accountable at all times, making sure that you are up to date with what's going on, making sure that you are getting agendas and that you're getting minutes in a timely fashion. And if you're not, someone is saying, hey, we didn't receive this. Can you keep us updated? That way, everybody has some level of responsibility and accountability to progress forward into whatever change is needed or requested in a specific area.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add to that is walking into it, right, with an open mind, like you said. And also, I think we're expecting community to trust people it's hard to trust, or institutions is hard to trust because of history, right? And I always tell people when I invite them to things, trust yourself. You don't have to trust anybody in the room. Trust yourself enough to suss out whether or not this will change actually, or this is just lip service. Trust yourself enough to dive deeper into the information to get a better understanding of it instead of just listening to the person who heard it third hand. Trust yourself enough, right? And the reason I say trust yourself enough is because there's a significant difference between being told something and doing the work of finding it out yourself.
Yes.
And in that process of doing that work, you will contextualize the information.
Facts.
A lot of time, anything with data or research, I tell people all the time, ask why 5 times. When you get a data point, somebody says something to you, like X% of this is why. Ask, well, why is that? And when you get an answer to that, ask it again, because what you're doing is root cause analysis, and you don't even know it.
I love that. And I'm naturally like that. But the thing about it, people often are like, you're thinking too deep into this, or why are you asking all these questions? And it's like, because I'm genuinely trying to understand what I'm learning instead of just taking what is said to me, right? It's like, well, in order for me to be able to really engage with you, I have to know what you're telling me.
Yeah. And another big thing is we oftentimes love, and I say oftentimes because sometimes it's just like maybe not the best time, but we oftentimes love people asking questions about things, right? Well, the only time I think we probably at my shop is if we've spelled it out and we provided all the information, and then there's follow-up questions for clarity. Oh, please come ask the questions, right? But I've seen some people who are head down in their phone, not paying attention, and get up and ask the exact question that was already answered. And I was like, I'm here for it, right? And stick with me. Let's lock in together. And then another big thing that we do, and a lot of what we create in the research that we do, and again, that analysis, right, that question asking why about data sets or any data point, we provide methodology. Now I don't expect or encourage anybody who likes their mind to go into that deep sea of methodology. It is wild and it's a lot. Okay. I'm like, it is a lot. If you want to do it, we provide how we got to the analysis, how we got to the conclusions we got to, who we talked to, what was the methodology, what was the analysis, how we did it, what different variables we included, what we didn't include, why we didn't include it, right? What are the limitations of the study itself or the data set itself? How has it changed over time? Why can't you compare 2024 with 2018, right? We provide all of that insight in the dashboards we have. And it's not just the quantitative things, right? The numbers themselves, but the qualitative elements as well. We did mixed method research around youth mental behavior health. And one of the things that we did provide was a code book. And this shows you how we got to the qualitative codes themselves, how we got to the themes that we saw in the focus groups. Not just here is the responses from the focus groups. It's how we got there, because what we want to make sure is that we're being transparent, number one. But 2, the questions that we would get asked are preempted with the information we provide universally.
Right. I want to say this, because you have those individuals that want to ask you those questions. Yeah. They try to catch you to see if you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, all the time.
And then when you can answer everything, they're just like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right?
So you do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no. I've been, people try to get me a lot. And here's the beautiful thing about the work that I do. We are experts in asking the question. We don't claim to be an expert in anything else. Oh, you're an expert in the economy. We're not.
Who said that?
You're an expert in healthcare. We're not.
Right.
We're experts in asking the right questions to get us to the right answers, right? And once we get to the right answers, then we gain knowledge about the topic itself. So when I say that we are good at asking the right questions, we are okay being wrong. And if someone says, well, that was wrong, oh, wow, it looks like it is wrong. We're wrong. Apologies. We'll go back and fix it.
That's a tough one for a lot of people.
Oh, no. And the beautiful thing about the work that we do is, again, we're trying to find the answer. We're not trying to be right.
Right.
And I think people set up themselves to be the experts. And when you're the expert, you feel an undue burden to be right all the time. And we don't have that burden. I'm not trying to be right. I'm trying to be thoughtful and truthful, right? I'm trying to explore and understand and convey that information in ways that everyone else can explore and understand. We're not trying to be right. And so when people try to like get me, I'm like, oh no, there's a fallacy in that underlying assumption that this is a battle. And it is not a battle, it's a collaboration.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Because when you speak of that, a thought that came to me is, I wonder how many leadership officials or community officials, government officials, if you will, like if they were able to admit or they were able to have that perspective, how would that change the relationships? You know what I mean?
I know it would change it a lot, but also again, the duality of community versus the folks that they vested power in, right? Because hopefully people are duly elected, right? And they have that space. But again, I ask community, how much grace are you giving leadership to be wrong?
Right.
That's a question that's hardly asked.
That's good.
How much grace is given,
It's
right?
the same with pastors.
We talk about yes, we talk about grace a lot in 1,000 different ways, right? I think when people realize that we're all people trying to do the best we can with the information that we have at the time, for the most part. I know there are some bad actors. I'm not trying to whitewash the whole thing, but I genuinely believe, and this is where I'm a real optimist. I root myself in the reality of the data, and I absolutely believe we can be better. Yeah. We can do better, right? But the reality is that we're not for everybody. And so one of the things that growth and development and success and communities require is grace in the process of becoming better, right? And becoming is messy.
Oh, God.
And as we know, as individuals, becoming is messy. We see kids that grow and we say, oh my goodness, they're all over the place. And then they come together and you're like, you know what? I didn't think you were going to get it together.
Every time.
But look at you now, right?
Every time,
why don't we see the same as far as communities are concerned? A living, breathing, organic entity that has fits, starts, successes, failures, but given grace through that process of becoming, because it is messy.
Yeah. And with that, again, the thought process is, I wonder if there is a way to change the way that people think, to know this isn't going to change overnight.
No.
This isn't going to change next week. I know you want it quick and fast, but the reality of it is this may take 3 years. This may take 5 years. And having people to understand that, I wonder, you know what I'm saying, how that could work as a dynamic for a community, rather than thinking, well, they didn't get this done in this time, so they're not doing anything. Yeah. Where instead they're like, yeah, you know, that's going to take 3 years.
Well, I'll push back on this and say, from a leadership perspective, promise what you can deliver. Right? I tell my team all the time, under promise, over deliver.
I love that part, yeah.
Right? And also, when things change, when situations change, let the people you've promised something to or for be the first people to know about the change that happened. Because what that allows them to do is extend that grace. Yeah. Right? Things change, understood. Things change, okay. What does the timeline look like now? Yes. Oh, that grant we were going after that we really prompted our timeline fell through. Or, you know, current situations just was disappeared altogether, taken down altogether. And so now we have to go back to the drawing board to really understand how we can fund the thing that we know that the community wants and needs, right? First people to know, community. Because then they go, okay, well, what does the timeline look like now? I don't know what the timeline looks like.
That's okay.
But I want to make sure that we're communicating with everyone about where we are, right? And again, from the community's perspective, it's not going to be overnight. Two things I would say, and my team just hates me for saying it all the time. One is that the lived experience is a valid form of evidence. It's data that hasn't been coded yet, right? And so the power to move the needle rests in the lived experience and community members themselves. And because it rests there, the idea that programs or like an infusion of resources can automatically fix something that took decades to really, really get to where we are now, right, that doesn't bode well for what we can do in the future. Because if we believe that one community can get resources and it automatically changes the complete trajectory without the community's leadership, it won't happen.
Correct.
And if community members really, really are disengaged because they don't feel like there's a possibility that it can change, then it will not change. Because the power in every data set we've ever looked at has always been in the people that the data are about. And if the people are not engaged in the process, as arduous as it may be, as tedious as it may be, as long as it may be, you're not building for you, you're building for those who come behind you. And when we stop to think, oh, it's not about me, it's about those who will benefit from my work, then how we change the mindset is like, there's a book, and it's A Man Who Planted Trees. Dr. Elisa Handelsman talks about it all the time, right?
Shout out to my mentor.
But it truly is, right? We can tell a lot about a community by the seeds that are planted by individuals who will never sit under its shade. They water it, right? They feed it. They till the ground to make sure it's fertile for that growth to happen. And it's not for them. They will never sit under the shade of that tree. But generations later, those who sit underneath it may not even know that they were the ones who were tilling the soil. But because they did, the future generations can prosper and benefit. And that's what, at our shop, we're really focused on. You may not see Strategic Spartanburg's logo everywhere, and we're up in front and taking the photo with everybody and holding things, but our work ripples. And that's because it's not about us. It's about the people we do it for. And if we can improve the quality of life for folks in Spartanburg County, then our work is done. And if no one ever knows that we did it, we don't care.
Y'all are like the gladiators. You know what that reference is? Scandal, Olivia Pope and all
yes,
them.
Yes.
That's what it gives for me, and I love that.
They be doing some wild stuff in that show.
They be doing some wild stuff, but they don't do that.
Let's be clear. We're not doing wild stuff like that.
Part, the heavy work and behind the scenes.
Yeah,
that's them all day.
You don't see, tell people how the sausage is made.
Right.
You don't see the behind the scenes things, and that's okay. You don't have to come behind and see all the analysis or the hours and hours of cleaning and sourcing and finding data sets, or the hours of data agreements and trying to get them right, working with everybody's legal, or you don't see that. But I hope that you do see the outputs that we have on our website, that we talk about in community, that we do at no cost to anyone. And it is your data. It is your information. We hold it in trust. Right? I always say community is a covenant. It is a covenant between us. We hold information in trust, analyze it for the benefit of community members. And the moment we start thinking more about how we can benefit versus how we can be a benefit is the moment I leave.
You heard it here. You heard it here. But I do want to ask you then, when it comes to our community, what have you observed? I don't want to say, like you said, if we put these resources into a community, all of a sudden, we're good. Yeah. And I don't think all communities are a one size fits all.
No.
Right?
Most not.
But if you could choose, and help me, please correct me, even if this is even a valid question to ask.
Yeah.
But for you, what is it that you think is needed in order to create a more healthy environment for a community?
It's a good question. I think there are a few things. We talked about prenatal care. We talked about child health, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between like infant mortality and child mortality, like, from 0 to 1 and from 1 to 5 is the big difference. We're still seeing significant instances where too many babies don't meet their first or make it to their first birthday. So the infant mortality rate for us is still too high, right? Since 2018, we've looked at it and almost doubled. So when we're thinking about it, we have to invest in the things that are working. And we know that things like Birth Matters really works, right? We know that some of these entities out there, Access Health, who stand in the gap, really are working towards that. And so that's one thing as far as like our little ones that is really sits on me. I have 2 daughters, now
They're
five,
so precious.
5 and 3, October birthday, November birthday. So we're in birthday season. Yeah. And they are everything, everything they want to be and more. And so right, they have me wrapped around their finger. And another big thing that really sits with me is the level of premature deaths in the Black community.
Yeah.
Like the added added years of life expectancy snapped short is around 3,000 when we add it all up, right? And this biggest gap that everyone talks about all the time, right, which is that life expectancy gap, a few miles, a zip code, 16, 17 years of different expectancy of life. And that weighs on me heavily, right? Because if we're talking about well-being, the biggest sign of well-being is how long and how well you get to live, right? And it shows that we have a long way to go in that perspective. Another big thing that really connects to health in our community is our housing strain. We're seeing significant housing strains, and as we know, that is a direct correlation with health outcomes. Do you have a safe, affordable, quality place to lay your head?
Right.
Really is the baseline, and maybe then I can go see that doctor about preventative care.
That part.
Well, maybe I can get that, I can't get there, so maybe the deliveries can come to my house when I have to get my prescriptions filled, right? But I can't say, hey, deliver it to this spot over here. You have to have an address to get it delivered to. And so we're seeing like a number of those things. Speaking of deliveries, transportation is always significant. And as far as our health is concerned, shout out to your Virginia's healthcare, your Spartanburg regional healthcare systems for making sure that they're actively going to communities, whether it be from a mobile standpoint or expanding to lesser served communities. And so like that is continuing to be a trend we see. And as we know, that connection there between transportation and health is significant. So I think those are some of the big things that come to mind that we're tracking and working diligently with communities and leaders around the county to really see how we can best address it.
Yeah. And I have seen that a lot as far as prioritizing our children. Yes. And unfortunately, with what's going on right now across the country, with like SNAP and so forth.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
We have 38,000 individuals, around that 17,000 households affected in our county alone from what's happening right now. And so we can't have this conversation about health and not bring that up,
right.
About nutrition, right? And not bring that up. And so what's hard for us is we have things that are in our realm of control, our sphere of influence, and some things that are outside of it, right? And so we are always thinking about how can we influence things in our sphere more positively, right? If you go to our website, you'll see that there is a food security dashboard that we created because a community member walked up to us and said, hey, we are doing this work and we need to see better data on where our services are needed. And we pulled a coalition together to do a number of different like research elements and data collection elements to produce the dashboard that is a map where you can see who needs and where the needs are, that we share widely and as a support to specifically the SNAP benefits being eviscerated. Hopefully people are using that to make informed decisions about how best to allocate resources.
Yeah. And before this even took place, one, it was already an issue. Yeah. But to know that, for example, we have a lot of kids in our communities that their only meal is at school.
Yes.
Like.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate because nutrition is very important, especially when you have to, you have to use your brain anywhere. Yep. But especially in school when test scores matter. Mm-hmm. And those test scores are the ones that get you into college. And then that degree is supposed to get you in the workplace somewhere. And so thinking about those steps alone and how that can affect a child, let alone your parents are trying to make it. And God only knows how they feel because they're going to make sure their child eats before they do. Yep. Right? And so the environment in itself becomes, stressful for the whole family, if you will, and trying to navigate and being in survivor mode.
What makes me think with that alone is the compounding stress.
Yes.
Right? The challenges are not isolated. Right? They stack on each other. And when you get to a point where it can break a family's ability to be healthy, and this is when all of the ships are leaving at the right time. And we know that that's not happening right now. Right? This is when everything is working as it was intended, or lack thereof. But as we know, isolations of one particular incident, like, oh, I didn't get food at school. We didn't go to school today. Right? 2 days for voting.
Yes.
District 7, for instance. My wife is an educator. District 7 was close. And what we have not talked about is of the students who that's their only meal a day. When we're at what day? We're the 5th day, 5th of November. How many of those young students, those kids, those children did not eat?
Right.
And when I lay awake at night, it's because that is harder to quantify. And we know that if it's not measured, it's hard to be managed. Because if we don't know how much or who needs, then we're throwing shots in the dark. Yeah. And again, everyone talks about the resources that we don't have. And we're trying to make sure that we're streamlining the efforts to best impact the people who need it the most so that we all thrive. And then the second thing that I didn't say earlier, which is what the team hates me, again, for saying all the time, is we really, really work off of the curb cut effect.
What's that?
And so what it is Angela Glover Blackwell, who was the founder of PolicyLink, really talks about this a lot. And I'm a fanboy for her. She is amazing in every right. But she talks about, like, when we solve problems authentically and holistically for the people who need it the most, everybody benefits. Yeah. A clear example of that is the curb cut was a part of how we solve ADA access to curbs. Yes. Designed for people who can't make the step up above the curb. You think people in wheelchairs. But when you go shopping and you're pushing the stroller around with your kids, you go straight to the curb cut. When you're about to go on a trip and you have your luggage, you use the curb cut. When people are delivering packages to your house, they use the curb cut. Never intended for them, never built for them, didn't have them in mind, but they benefit because we solved a problem authentically and holistically for the people who needed it.
That's good. And that's a fact. That's a fact. In the design world, I remember as simple as like a shower. Same thing.
Yeah.
If you, instead of having the shower, what is it, like, I think it's like 2 to 3 feet, 3 feet.
Yes.
3 feet opening, you create like a 5 foot opening. And it's like, it doesn't affect it's helping both people that are in need of this. The person that's in the wheelchair, and then the person that can just walk in fine. I mean, it's just a design that you just have a wider door. And so, again, both people benefit from that.
Yeah. And so anytime we're talking about policy solutions, because, again, we have our 4 pillars of impact, right? We look at the data to find the disparities, see what those disparities are, do research around why those disparities exist the way that they do, and then leverage the findings for policy and practice changes that will address those disparities. And then we measure in our evaluations, but if it worked, and if it does work, how do we scale? And if it didn't, how do we pivot, right? And so in that same vein of our policy and practices, we're asking the question of, okay, this may help this group, but what is its ripple effect? What's the halo effect that it has for everyone else that may not be a part of this specific group, but they benefit from this being implemented?
And, I feel like a simple question for the people that, a simple thing is to say, how is this hurting you? For the people that have an issue with certain things, right? That are questioning, like, well, what do we need to do that for? And it's like, okay, well, how is this hurting you? Then you don't really have an answer, except for it may be hurting my pockets. Well, you don't need to be in this line of work.
Well, what's interesting about that is, like, how is this hurting you? We always talk about if, again, I truly believe that we're after the same goals. How we get there is different. Right? We're after those goals. People want to have safe, secure housing. They want to be able to feed their family. They want to be able to, take that fun trip. Simple things. No one's asking generally for McMansions and living the lavish life, private jets, and like, by and large, people are not asking for that. And so when you say, okay, for instance, the education piece, and people are like, well, we're going to the debts that people have in their student loan debts, we're going to forgive.
Oh, trigger word.
Right? No, like,
the triggering for me.
One big thing. Like, we're gonna forgive student loan debt. And it's like, okay, well, I just paid my debt off.
Oh gosh, yes.
Why do they get that benefit and I don't get that benefit? Right? We're always like, okay, what's the economic argument here?
Yes.
Because when we're talking economics and people are talking like social emotional, there's always a disconnect. And so if we have a social or a program that's specifically designed to be a safety net, for instance, or something else, we're like, okay, well, we know there'll be pushback. So what's the argument from multiple perspectives, right? One of the big things around the growth of our community was, they're building a lot of different subdivisions across the county. A lot of development happening. A lot. Right? And so farmers are asking questions, as they should be asking, right? About what does this actually mean for, one, the demographics of where they live, but also their economic impact on day to day. Because if you're out in the middle of the county and you're behind a tractor, for instance, who's trying to get to and from a part of the farm, right? That increased traffic is going to make it harder to use those roads that they've been using forever. Right? And so when we look at the economic argument or the social impact argument, and you take it from the perspective of the person who feels like they're being aggrieved, right? People aren't stupid. They're not. People are very, very smart.
Agreed.
And they know when they're being screwed over, right? And so it's less about yelling at them to say, you should be doing this because it benefits everybody. And it's more about trying to understand where they're coming from and at what point in the information train they were misled.
Right.
All right. And if we can do that again with a level of empathy, with a level of grace and compassion, then we can have an honest conversation about the end goal and about the kind of direction that we're trying to go and the path we choose to get there.
Yeah. And I want to say this too. conversation is very important, right? But then I think a lot of people are like, I'm tired of talking.
Yeah.
What are you going to get this ball rolling? What are you going to do? And I think that is a very challenging part. It's all challenging.
Yes.
It's all challenging, but when you actually include them in the conversation, you include them in the plans and the steps of whatever that change may be.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about that person's route.
Yeah.
Right? That they've done forever.
Yep.
When you include them to say, okay, well, this is what we're thinking, and they can, I guess you can say, contribute to that.
Yeah.
If that's allowed. I don't know.
No, it's the feedback that's necessary,
Yeah.
right? Because if we're going increased road traffic in any one stretch from that same example,
Yeah.
right? Then we have to start talking about how to make the roads wider.
Exactly.
And that means people's land,
Yeah.
right? And they have to be engaged in that conversation.
That's right.
But if we do it on the front end and bring folks in and have that conversation about, hey, this is what the density is looking like, this is what the traffic is going to look like. We want to make sure that that same route is available to you, but also make sure that everyone else moving in has that through, that ease of traffic flow.
Yeah.
We don't want congestions. Then we're going to have to expand the roads. That's a different conversation
It
than let's just build the thing, have everybody come, and now I'm frustrated as a farmer out in the middle of the county.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But again, that's harder to do.
Agreed. You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know. You don't know what you're going to get. Like anytime you open up the conversation, you don't know what you're going to get. And what I found in the research that I've done, like even in my doctorate program, is most people, most entities do not open up the conversation. They don't. Or they steer the conversation based off of the specific responses they want to get to rubber stamp something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's happening here because I have not been in enough, I say here in Spartanburg, because I haven't been in enough spaces in all of the meetings to build an understanding well enough to say that.
Yeah.
But I will say, generally, the research shows that most places really want communities to agree and rubber stamp versus being engaged in the process of design and development. And I've seen here in fits and starts where that's not like the engagement and development is definitely a conversation. You can look at the North Side and the Voyagers and the work that's happened there, and people are like, well, we just talk about the North Side again, but that's a direct, specific example in the context of this community where a resident said that this is what I want, and the leadership and those in what we say power said, okay, well, let's actualize the vision created by the residents, created by the community. And so if we can start to see that more and more, then that is a good thing versus the opposite, which is this is what we're going to do in your community, whether you like it or not. You can be on board and benefit, or you can get steamrolled. That's what we don't want to see.
No.
All right. So it's that balance.
And I would say too, like, if you are somebody that's like, oh, North Side, we keep talking about the North Side. It's like, okay, like, look at what they did. Like, take a page or two from their book, and make it to what works for your community.
For your community, what
works. You don't
works?
have to do exactly what they did, but at least look into, like, what worked for them, and then say to yourself, in my community of who I know and the conversations that are a part of this, like, is this something that's possible for us?
So, question I ask for those people who like, oh my God, the North Side. Okay, are you doing this work to facilitate growth or to become famous?
Ooh.
Which is more important?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, again, it's not about me.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
If my pride is in the way, then I take 7 steps back. Because my pride should not be leading my heart.
Right.
And if we're doing this work to improve the communities that we are in, then we have to put ourselves aside for the betterment of the community. Now, I'm not saying we have to roll over and agree with everything, and no, because you're a trusted person, you're a trusted leader in a community for a reason.
Right.
What I'm saying is, a lot of times I've seen in my experience, some of the best people who could move the needle in their community become the barrier to progress in their communities. And it's not because they don't want to do it. Like, it's not because they want to be a barrier, right? I think a lot of the time it's because they have bought into their leadership in a way that is negatively affecting their community's outcomes. Like, everything has to go through me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You have those individuals.
It doesn't.
It does not.
I need to be a part of every communication or conversation. You don't. Right? Well, so for instance, I lived in Washington, D.C. And then so we have ANCs, which is basically duly elected commissioners that are specifically representing their small little district. And so there's a whole bunch of them. So like a block or 2 blocks or maybe 4 square blocks that this one person who lives in that community is representing, right? That is very different than the person who has the ability to show up at all of the meetings, the person who has the flexible schedule to be engaged in all the things that happen and show up to all of the things that happen with the city or the county, right? When other people in that community may want to do that, but they don't have that flexible schedule.
Right.
They don't have that level of flexibility, right? Duly elected versus someone who has the ability to show up. It does not mean that person who has the ability to show up and who is showing up does not have the trust and respect of their community. Most of the time they do. But I think there's a specific belief that because I have that trust, then I speak for everybody. You speak for you and with the full power of your community. I think a lot of times people put themselves in front of their progress. And their communities need them to put themselves behind the progress of community. Right? What we do here in Strategic Spartanburg, we build capacity and get out the way.
And capacity that's a tough one, because as we were talking about compounding stress, like having the capacity, I think people do hold that weight of like, I speak for everybody, my whole community.
And it's a weight.
It's a weight.
Sometimes you gotta let yourself just relax.
We commend you for stepping up.
Yes.
Right. But at the same
100%.
time,
100%.
It will also benefit one to delegate to others in the community, because it shouldn't just be on you.
It should not.
It should not just be on you. And if that is, like, if you do feel that way, it's unfortunate. But we also do encourage you to really try to tap in more, I guess, get uncomfortable if you have not already, to delegate that a little bit to people. In fact, don't show up sometimes. Be like, y'all got it.
Yeah, and also, like, here's also the thing, right? Burnout is real.
Yes.
And if you're really showing up for community, then you want to show up your best self, right? And engage in the best possible way. And if you're always there, there's no time for you to fill your own cup and recharge in order to be even more effective the next time. Like, I don't want my words to come across as I don't want people engaged in their community because they have time to be. It's more, I want people to realize that they are not alone in that work. And if you let people in, if you let people take leadership, let people take ownership, you'll be incredibly surprised by how much work you don't have to do alone. But some people take pride in being the sole soldier. And what I'm asking them to do is delegate, yes, but also realize that one soldier does not win the war. You need the full might of your community, and that looks very different depending on where you are. But one thing is clear, they need a general. And I think people need to step outside of being the frontline soldier and start to think about how to be the general.
And so I'm going to ask you, for those individuals that are out there who, based off of this conversation, it may have, put a little fire under their feet, where they're like, you know what? maybe I should try to organize, or maybe I should, try to organize a town hall meeting, whatever the case may be. What is a standard baseline that you will offer for people to, I guess you can say, organize something like that? Meaning like meeting with community leaders, and being open to having a conversation, meaning like starting the conversation up. What are the things that I should consider? What are the things that I should ask? Like, what would you suggest in that?
Yeah, we are always open to have dialogue with community across the board. No matter what you believe, what you decide to do, our job is to facilitate and support the use of information to better inform what you do. All right? And I think that's a big misconception as well. Like, you have to be in lockstep with what we believe in order for us to support. No, like that. My job is not to do that. How they can get engaged is like, when you pull those folks together, invite us. We will come to your community. We won't charge you anything. We will curate the information. Like, if you have something that you want to see and it's in our power, and in a sense, when I say power, I mean there's readily available data for it. There's some things that we don't have readily available data for. And if we do not have that, we will tell you. Because again, we're okay being wrong. We're okay not being the answer to every question. And so what we do is we have 150 measures, indicators that sit on our dashboard across education, health, natural environment, social environment, civic engagement, across 7 different indicator areas. And so what I charge people to do all the time who come and I sit down and have lunch with them, or I go to their community meetings, is choose one. Choose one. Some people want to do 3, depending on how big their organization, big their collective is. But I say choose a metric, choose a measure for your community that you want to change, and devote your time, effort, and attention to changing that. We can't change everything, but we can monitor everything and focus on one. I'm not saying take your eye off all the other things that are happening in your community. I'm saying keep an eye on everything. Find the one that is going to have the outsized impact for your community, and then work with us to track, measure, and change what that looks like for you.
Yeah, and it's not a race, it's a marathon.
It is a marathon. Wear comfortable shoes and nothing that chafes.
Right. If you got kids, if you got grandkids, nieces, nephews, it's more than likely for them and their kids, and it's not for you.
Yeah. My work doubled down when I had kids. I thought that I would be less aggressive about how I did my work, and I would be more concerned with stability for their sake. And I am less concerned with stability and more concerned with impact. Because I know at the end of the day, this is soul work for me. My family loves to be in Spartanburg. And so for as long as I'm able to do this work, I will, and I will do it unapologetically. Because it is soul work, and it is for my children's children. It's not for me. My life is here and now. And granted, I would love for things to be better here and now, and we're actively working so that they can be better here and now. But we know that what policy has created, programs can't undo. It takes concerted effort, policy, and time for us to undo it.
And let the people know what you mean by policy versus programs.
Yes. So your programs are great. Programs keep us from sliding further into disparities. And I want to make that clear, because a lot of times people say, well, what has that program done? Like, do you want me to show you the model of if that program doesn't exist? How bad the disparity or how bad the outcomes would be without that program, right? I tell nonprofits all the time, we exist to put ourselves out of business. You exist where public and private has failed. And if you literally exist in the gap, then you are in the business of making profits off of that disparity. If you're not actively working to close that disparity, then you're actively in the business of it. And it's not to say that what we need right now, that food assistance, right? That shelter assistance, right? Those utility assistance, that program, education program, right? That parenting model program, all those definitely need to happen. And we need to be systematically working to address the policies that put us in this position, because programs will help us to make sure we don't get worse. Policy solutions to make sure we get better.
Yeah, that's good. And specifically for Spartanburg,
Yes.
what is it that you want to see? What improvements, changes? What is it? Speak on this. Is your time.
This is my time. Oh, okay. Well,
Speak on it. So then when we come back to this years later, we can play this in the clip and be like, yeah.
No. This is my time. Okay. One of the biggest things I want to see is people really using data to make informed decisions that will have material impact in people's lives. And I'll be honest with you, like, I'm not a data person.
Okay.
If I can have the same impact at my house, sweeping in front of my front porch, I will be doing that every day and night. Because I know that this is a very empirical society. Yeah. And we want to see the data. And so when I went, and I told you at the beginning, I went through this whole thing about where I need to go in order to get better at understanding these elements, to come back and really do work to improve it. I've realized quickly that no matter what I was working in, there was always a question of, well, what does the data say? And then I said, everybody's looking towards that. But what I found is people are data justified, not data driven. They want the data to rubber stamp what they want to do already. They want the data to support the decisions they've already made, versus making decisions based on what the data are saying after the analysis is done, because data and statistics are two different things. Don't tell me you're data driven and you've not done the statistical analysis to interrogate the information to get to the understanding, right? And so what I want to see everybody asking that question and meaning it. What did the data say? And mean it, because that will drive what we decide. Again, it is informed, whatever decision is informed by data, driven by community. So what I would love to see in this community is everybody using our information, using data, using research to really drive and inform the decisions they make that will have material impact on communities and their lived experience. Because at the end of the day, we can say we had really great outcomes and we've built these phenomenal buildings and these phenomenal things, but we have to build people in the process, because the people will ultimately sustain the progress we make.
That's good.
So,
thank you for sharing that.
Oh, appreciate having the space and time.
Yeah.
I don't ever sit down. I'm always going. So this is an opportunity for me to just like sit somewhere and sit still.
Yeah. And for me, as somebody like with Black and Healthy, by you saying that for me is someone that's like, let me hold myself more accountable to working more towards that. And I hope others that are doing community work as well will also hold yourself to that standard to do better in the work that you're doing for people in the community. First serve, right? The people, the needs, the pain points. People like to say.
The pain points. I call them action points.
Action points.
Because everybody likes to romanticize problems and no one wants to do the work.
You're right. Let me say something. Action, it'll set you up every time, either good or bad.
What are the action points we see, and how can we optimize what we have in order to address it?
Yeah, that's good. And with that being said, those of you in the community, if you would like to connect with the Dr. Midas Hampton. Let them know how they can connect with you.
Oh man, you can connect on social media. We are Strategic Spartanburg. If you just write that out, you'll find all of our handles. And on our website, we don't hide behind the wall. And so you can email me directly. You can email any of the staff directly and ask questions, get better insight, and tell us how we can show up. Because like my mama said, you know, don't go into a community that didn't invite you.
Oh.
So I go around, but when you invite me, I'll come in your community.
That's good. And take the step, y'all. Take the step to actually reach out and to see, you know, what can be done. You know, even if you're afraid, do it afraid.
Yes.
You know, ask the questions. Don't feel like you're not smart enough or you're not equipped to to reach out or ask the questions. Like, no question is dumb. And please utilize what is readily available to you in our community. But again, thank you so much for being here. Of course.
Thanks for having me.
This was such a great conversation.
I know. This is my first podcast. Yeah. Look at that. Because I'm just generally behind the scenes. I'm just like, let me cook.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, I want to be the chef. No, let me cook.
I love that. Well, I'm honored.
Of course.
And y'all, make sure you connect. If you see Midas out, say hello. Come have a conversation with him and his team, of course.
Yes.
They were at the recent Black and Healthy event. If you saw Tennille, hope that you were able to connect with her and to learn more about Strategic Spartanburg. But if you were not, again, make sure you go to their website, connect with them on social media, and also make sure that you connect with us as well, Black and Healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, as well as our website at www.blackandhealthy.com. And also make sure that you subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. If this was super long for you and you want to take a pause and be like, now what did he say now? What was that? Take the note. Take a pause and write it down. Take a pause to research it as well, to learn more about the topic or something that was mentioned on this episode. And we hope that this was so helpful for you today. Share it with your family and friends. Empower the ones that you love and care about so that they too can gain knowledge, and also to build our community and our futures for the kids.
Yes.
Whitney said, the future are our children.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Teach them well and let them lead the way.
Lead the way.
So, with that being said, thank you again, and we'll see you at another time. Bye, y'all.